Powerful men don't beg for respect. They don't demand it. They command it without speaking a single word. The way they walk into a room, the way they carry themselves, the way their presence alone shifts the atmosphere. This is what separates the strong from the weak. In a world where influence is everything, being respected without even opening your mouth is an art few have mastered. But today you will. Stay with me till the end, and by the time we're done, you'll know exactly how to make people take you seriously without ever having to ask. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to help our journey. Now let's get into it. Number 1, the power of controlled composure. The greatest warriors in history, from Marcus Aurelius to Miyamoto Musashi, understood that true power lies in composure. A man who cannot be rattled, who doesn't flinch under pressure, immediately gains respect. People instinctively know that a calm person is in control of themselves and of any situation they step into. Stoicism teaches that external chaos should never disturb internal peace. When you cultivate this mindset, people sense it. Take someone like Elon Musk. No matter how much chaos surrounds him, whether it's Twitter controversy or market crashes, his demeanor remains steady. This gives people the impression that he's always in control, even when things go south. That's respect. To develop this, practice stillness in your daily life. When faced with confrontation, resist the urge to react immediately. Instead, pause, observe. Let the other person reveal their emotions while you remain unshaken. This contrast alone will shift the balance of power in any interaction. Composure is rare, which is why it commands respect. In a world of emotional outbursts and impulsive reactions, being the one who remains steady will make you stand out. Number 2, mastering the art of body language. Before you even open your mouth, your body's already spoken. A firm stance, relaxed shoulders, and slow, deliberate movements communicate confidence. Weak people fidget, look down, and shrink themselves. The moment you stop doing this, people will see you differently. Think of Vladimir Putin. Whether you like him or not, he understands the power of body language. He walks with purpose, maintains eye contact, and never rushes. This forces people to pay attention. In contrast, those who slouch or avoid eye contact immediately lose respect. One way to improve this is through mirror exercises. Observe yourself. Are you standing tall? Are your gestures controlled? Make small adjustments and notice how differently people react to you. A subtle shift in posture can change how the world perceives you. Remember, presence isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about moving with purpose, like someone who knows exactly where they're going and why. Number 3, the strength of strategic silence. Silence is intimidating. It makes people uncomfortable. And if you know how to use it, you can control conversations and interactions without saying a word. Weak men talk too much. They try to prove themselves, filling the air with unnecessary words. Strong men let silence do the work. A great example is Warren Buffett. He listens more than he speaks. He pauses before responding. This forces people to hang onto his every word because they know when he finally speaks, it will be worth listening to. That's power. You can use this in your own life. The next time someone asks you a question, take a moment before responding. Let them feel the weight of the silence. It signals that you think before you speak, and it subtly forces them to value your words more. Most people fear silence because they associate it with awkwardness. But if you can become comfortable in it, you immediately gain a psychological edge over those who aren't. Number 4, the influence of mystery and scarcity. People don't respect what is always available. The more accessible you are, the less valuable you seem. This applies to wealth, attention, and even your presence. If you want to be respected, you must cultivate an air of mystery. Think of someone like Michael Jordan. He doesn't do daily interviews, doesn't constantly share his thoughts online. This scarcity makes every word he does say more impactful. Compare this to someone who talks all the time. Their words lose value. To apply this, stop oversharing. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. Keep your plans, ambitions, and emotions guarded. Let people wonder what you're thinking. The unknown is always more intriguing than the obvious. When you become a person of few words but great impact, people start paying attention. They respect you more because you don't waste their time with meaningless noise. Number 5, the power of walking away. Nothing is more intimidating than someone who isn't desperate. People who command respect know their worth and never beg for validation. They walk away when something doesn't serve them, be it a business deal, a relationship, or an argument. Look at Jeff Bezos. When he left his Wall Street job to start Amazon, people thought he was crazy, but he didn't seek their approval. He knew what he was worth. Today, the same people who doubted him now admire him. In your own life, practice detachment. If someone disrespects you, don't argue, just walk away. If an opportunity isn't right, don't force it. This self-respect will make others respect you even more. People sense when you need something from them, and they use it against you. But when they see you are perfectly fine on your own, they'll do everything they can to keep you around. That's real power. Number 6, the authority of unshakable eye contact. The way you look at someone can determine how they perceive you. Weak people avoid eye contact. They shift their gaze, look down, or blink excessively when confronted. Confident people hold their gaze steady, signaling dominance without aggression. Take someone like Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL. When he speaks, his intense, unbreaking eye contact commands attention. It's not about intimidation, it's about certainty. People naturally respect someone who looks them directly in the eye without hesitation. Practicing eye contact starts with self-awareness. Next time you're in a conversation, resist the urge to look away first. Hold their gaze a fraction longer than usual. You don't need to stare aggressively, but steady eye contact signals that you're fully present and in control. The world respects those who don't flinch. And once people sense that you are unwavering, they'll instinctively recognize your authority. Number 7, the strength of speaking less but meaning more. In a world where everyone is talking, the one who speaks less holds the most power. Words lose their value when they are used excessively. The more you talk, the more likely you are to say something weak, uncertain, or unnecessary. True power lies in restraint. Consider Bruce Lee. Despite being one of the most influential martial artists of all time, he never wasted words. When he spoke, it was brief, sharp, and impactful. People listened because they knew he only spoke when he had something valuable to say. To master this, eliminate filler words like and you know. When asked a question, pause and think before responding. Make your words deliberate. People will start leaning in when you speak because they'll know that when you do, it matters. Powerful people don't try to dominate conversations. They let their silence do the work. And when they do speak, every word lands like a hammer. Number 8, the intimidation of absolute self-control. A man who cannot control himself will never be respected. If you react emotionally, lash out, or show frustration easily, people will see you as weak. Those who are feared and respected don't just control their actions, they control their emotions. Look at Tom Brady. He's faced losses, criticism, and pressure that would break most people. But he never lets emotions dictate his actions. He stays focused, composed, and calculated. That's why even his enemies respect him. Self-control is a muscle. Strengthen it by refusing to react impulsively. If someone insults you, don't respond immediately. If you feel anger rising, breathe before you speak. The ability to stay cool under pressure will make people respect you and fear what you might do next. When you control yourself, you control the world around you. And the man who cannot be controlled will always be more powerful than the man who can. Number 9, the silent power of purposeful actions. People respect action more than words. You don't need to explain yourself. Just let your results speak. The most feared and respected individuals don't announce their every move. They execute in silence, and let people witness the outcome. Take someone like Cristiano Ronaldo. He doesn't waste time arguing about whether he's the best. He just proves it through his discipline, his work ethic, and his results. People respect him because he lets his performance do the talking. If you want to be respected, don't talk about what you're going to do. Just do it. Show up early. Work harder than anyone else. Stay disciplined when others are distracted. Over time, people will recognize your strength, not because you told them, but because they saw it for themselves. The strongest presence is built on proof, not promises. When your actions are undeniable, people will respect you without a single word. Number 10. The dominance of never seeking validation. Nothing weakens your presence more than seeking approval. The moment you care too much about what others think, you give them power over you. Those who are truly feared and respected move through life on their own terms, without looking for permission. Think about Kanye West. Love him or hate him, one thing is certain. He does not seek validation. He says what he believes, does what he wants, and refuses to conform. This independence is what makes him one of the most respected and feared figures in the entertainment industry. Stop explaining yourself. Stop justifying your choices to people who don't matter. Move in silence. Make decisions based on your own principles, not public opinion. The moment people realize you don't need their approval, they will respect you even more. A man who doesn't seek validation is unstoppable. And when people sense that you live for yourself, not for their approval, they will be drawn to you, and they will fear losing you. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned. And fear isn't about aggression, it's about presence. If you master your eye contact, your words, your self-control, your actions, and your independence, you will naturally command both fear and respect. The best part? You won't need to say a word. If you found this valuable, don't forget to like and subscribe to help our journey grow. And remember, real power is silent. See you in the next video.